What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the brother Eric Bennett for the donation to the channel via the Cash App. Much respect to him for showing love once again to Too Raw for TV. So let's talk about, I think I talked about this team recently, but I want to talk about the 2015 Atlanta Hawks. Okay, that team, I believe, went 60-22 during the 2014-15 regular season. They were coached by Mike Budenholzer. And one thing about Mike Budenholzer is he is a coach that throughout the entirety of a season, he knows how to implement his game plan. If as long as his players are healthy, he will get you to a top seed. The problem with him is that during the playoffs, when other opposing coaches get a better look at his squad, and instead of facing a team once every 2 weeks or once a month or once every 2 to 3 or 4 months, now all of a sudden you're seeing a team more and more often, every other day. So you get a better idea of what you have to game plan against, and the coaches, they make more adjustments. Oftentimes, Mike Budenholzer is unwilling to make those adjustments, and that's what gets him in trouble. And that was pretty much the idea that a lot of us had for the 2015 Hawks. Like, on the surface, yeah, that team had 4 All-Stars, if I remember correctly. Paul Millsap, Al Horford, Jeff Teague, and Kyle Korver. But not every All-Star is equal. You see, it's interesting. LeBron fans love to point out that these guys were All-Stars that year. But do we really look at Kyle Korver and Jeff Teague and Al Horford as perennial All-Stars? Or did that really help to just enforce the point that a lot of us had, that the 2010 Eastern Conference was the weakest we've seen in decades? I say, from the statistics I looked at, that's the weakest decade of the Eastern Conference since 1950s. Now, Paul Millsap in his prime was an all-star level player, but come on, man. But this is the thing, though. They'll say that this was a legit all-star squad, but bring up the year that Mo Williams was an all-star. Oh, well, he was a replacement all-star. It doesn't matter. If Mo Williams was playing 10 years later, Mo Williams was a perennial all-star in the East. That's how weak the Eastern Conference was. And we know and knew at that time, watching that Atlanta Hawks team, we all said to ourselves, there's no way in hell this team is going to win a championship, because basically from what I remember watching that team play, they were generally a jump shooting team. They weren't able to have a lot. They didn't have a lot of flexibility in how they could attack the defense. So against a superior team, like the Cleveland Cavaliers, even though Cleveland won fewer games, and that really is an indictment on LeBron James' leadership, because, as I said before, those Cavalier teams, especially the second time around, those Cavalier teams played to level their competition. You know how many LeBron James teammates in Cleveland said they didn't practice? Isaiah Thomas said the reason why he didn't get any better playing with Cleveland because he didn't practice. Whereas with the Chicago Bulls of the 90s, They practice all the time. But anyway, as expected, that Hawks team got their ass whooped. Right? They got swept, I believe, in the conference finals. As they should, because they were frauds. But yet, LeBron fans who will tout this team saying, well, they won 60 games, so they had to be great. Well, when Chicago Bulls fans bring up the 93 Suns who won 62 games, or the 96 Sonics that won 64 games, or the 97 and 98 Jazz that won 64 and 62 games respectively, but then all of a sudden, now that doesn't matter. They were the products of, as they put it, a diluted NBA where you had all of these, expansion teams joining the league, and they were, beating up inferior teams, and all their win totals were inflated, and blah blah blah. But last I checked, instead of LeBron James beating up on Paul Millsap and Al Horford, Jeff Teague, Jordan was beating legit superstars. I forgot to mention Portland. They won 61 games in 92. So Jordan was beating on guys like Clyde Drexler and Buck Williams. You know what I'm saying? Cliff Robinson, who scored 19,000 points in his NBA career. He was beating, and Buck Williams was Rookie of the Year. He was beating on, a Charles Barkley, Cedric Ceballos, Kevin Johnson, who should be an all-star, Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, John Stockton and Karl Malone. You get me? There's really no comparison here. None. But this is the trick that these guys do, man. When it comes to the 90s, it's so easy to beat these LeBron fans because they don't argue from a place of logic. Kyle Korver, now I'm not saying these guys weren't good. Kyle Korver was good. Al Horford's a shell of himself now, but he's still in the league. Jeff Teague, yeah. I mean, man, for Jeff Teague to be an all-star a year, if I'm not mistaken, that tells you just how weak the Eastern Conference was. That tells you just how weak the Eastern Conference was. But anyway, tell me what you guys think.